Welcome back to American Warrior Radio here on AM 1510 WMEL, and that's a new frequency for us, so get that down, AM 1510 WMEL.
Website 1510WMEL.com.
Absolutely.
We also got some FM radio stations as you're cruising down the highway. You want to dial us up on 100.7 for Melbourne and Palm Bay, FM 94.7 for Viera and Suntree, and FM 99.9 in Cocoa, Rockledge, and Merritt Island. We are proud to be out there on all these broadcast bands, so share this information with your friends. There's no excuse for you to not be listening to American Warrior Radio here on the big 1510 WMEL, the Talk to Me station.
Okay.
That was a good commercial, huh?
Yeah, that was great. Right before we finished off the first segment, we were talking about hearing loss, and of course the past month, October, was a VA push month for hearing loss. And
yes, it was.
Filing for it, and that includes, of course, tinnitus, which is that ringing or buzzing or noise in your ears.
Annoying buzzing, yes.
Pretty constant basis, and let me tell you, that's a whole separate disability from hearing loss. You could get a 10%, and that's the only rating available.
Correct.
For tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it, and not have a hearing loss approved. And vice versa, you can have a hearing loss approved and the 10%.
Not get tinnitus.
And not get tinnitus because you didn't file for it. You got to file the claim.
Now, in the past, and Glenn mentioned, there's only one rating for that tinnitus, and it's 10%. Used to be different before 2000. It's if you have it, you're going to get it. But you have to have been in a situation during your military career where you suffered acoustic trauma.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking a lot of us were around.
Well, that's part and parcel to most military jobs.
Whether you're blowing stuff up or running jet engines or even working on diesel trucks.
Or working at a desk out close to the runway.
Or being in the silent service, which ain't so silent when you're on a submarine.
Exactly.
So that ringing in the ears, everybody, you want to claim that. And here's why. If it started while you were on active duty, and it's still bothering you today, and we're going to get to this whole service-connected disability benefit stuff, but if it started then and it's bothering you today, you've got a claim, and guess what? It's going to be with you your entire life.
Exactly.
It's worth 10%. What's that monetary-wise?
10% is, $100 and a few dollars.
Yeah, $130 or something like that. Tax-free for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Okay,
tax-free.
So what you got about the audiology stuff?
Okay, the audiology stuff, to get yourself prepared for a claim for audiology, unless it's within the first year after you got off active duty, you need to go see and pay for yourself, unless you're otherwise entitled to VA health care. You need to go see a state licensed audiologist and have them do the full regime on you, and also mention something about your tinnitus when you tell them that. And
because they may not ask.
Yeah, not all of them will ask you if you have that. They're only going to go by what you're telling them. You're telling them I'm hard of hearing. They're going to run all the tests appropriate to that to find out what your decibel loss is at each one of a certain amount of decibels.
1,000 to 4,000 hertz.
Right.
And then they couple that with speech discrimination scoring.
Exactly.
So it's hard to get service connection for hearing loss, but if you've got it, then you better pursue it.
Yeah, or it's also, while hard to get it, if you get it, it's likely to be a 0 unless you're almost deaf.
Yeah, so don't be surprised if the VA comes back with their rating decision and says, hey, you're service connected for high frequency hearing loss in one ear or both ears, but it wasn't bad enough to warrant any compensation at 10% or higher rating. You might get 0%. Still a huge benefit to be awarded that.
Yeah, and don't forget, a 0% is a service-connected disability and entitles you to VA health care for that disability if that's the only thing you have.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, and that disability entitles you to hearing aids if required from the VA, and those puppies are running about $5,000 a set, and they give you free batteries for the rest of your life.
Big, huge benefit. But so don't be scared away by thinking you might get a 0%. Huge benefit in that. But what you suggested is that they get that examination done. If they have VA healthcare, the VA may well provide that. But otherwise, go to an outside provider. Say you got some bad hearing loss. Your spouse has been complaining about you not listening. That could be due to selective hearing. Okay, I suffer from that occasionally.
Me too.
But the idea is get those exam results. If you have, not embellish or lie, but if you have the ringing in the ears, I got it right now, Glenn. How about you?
Yeah, me too.
All right, come on. A couple of Air Force vets here. But if you have that, you need to mention it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, that's a wonderful benefit for hearing aids. And if you've got a hearing loss that meets VA criteria, you're probably pretty darn close to needing a hearing aid.
For sure. And one thing I'll mention, since we are on the hearing issue, again, last October, every October, is National Audiology Awareness Month. And the VA is really putting some money and some effort into trying to conquer some of these things. They've got no solution or cure for that ringing in the ears, and it's awful. Whether it's quiet or loud, I have it. I know a lot of vets have it. But if you are going to make a claim for that, know that the VA is going to support you. They have a duty to assist in the development of your claim, and I'll just tell you straight up, they're going to be looking to see if you had some acoustic trauma, if you were in an area of loud noise, according to your MOS, or in the Air Force, your AFSC.
Right. According to the job you had on active duty that exposed you to hazardous noise levels. And again, you could have been in a desk job, but I had a desk job at RAF Lakenheath, England, and it was like 60 yards from where they brought the F-4s up and ran them up before they went out on the runway and took off. So, again, as Guerin said, don't self-disqualify yourself. Put in for it.
Exactly. And use an accredited representative to form your claim.
Absolutely. Not somebody that says they're certified. There's no such thing in the VA world as certified.
No.
That's something that DAV and VFW and American Legion all had little classes they put on for volunteer service officers, but it doesn't accredit you with the VA. And the big difference is the level of knowledge and the currency of your knowledge.
Yeah, the continuing education, all right, because VA law changes all the time. And in particular, the way that they administer the rules and laws on the books. So you got the code. Well, you have a statute. That's what Congress passes. That's the law of the land. And then it's broken down into the departments, into the various agencies. And those are the code of federal regulations. Well, guess what? The VA doesn't operate off those. They have their manuals.
Yeah, they got a manual. And let me tell you, there's been more than once when I was helping clients that I made the argument and won, saying the manual is a disconnect to the Code of Federal Regulations, or even worse, is that a disconnect in the law in the United States Code.
So, and that is the law of the land, the USC, United States Code. So even they break it down into manuals, and that's where you want to focus, because the accredited representatives, like Glenn just said, he's the retired supervisor of the Brevard County Veteran Service Office. He not only keeps track of the statutes and the Code of Federal Regulations, he's apprised of any changes or, shall we say, additions to the manuals, which is what the on-the-ground operators with the VA use to develop and put out your claims, administer your claims.
Exactly, and I've never seen them take anything away. That's a good thing, but they do add things.
All the time.
They put it in the Federal Register, it sits there for 90 days for comments, and then they go through another administrative process, and then it results in a change to the way VA does things and what they will award disabilities for.
I could not have asked, he doesn't know this, I could not have asked for a better segue into what I got in my hand here. All right, and that is VA proposes rule to consider certain diseases associated with exposure to contaminants in the water supply at Camp Lejeune. That's a whole mouthful there, Glenn, but you summed it up. The way this came about is between, 1953 and 1987. If you were at Camp Lejeune, if you were stationed there, and no less than 30 days, so if you were there for a month or longer, you were exposed to some really nasty stuff in the water supply, whether you were showering with it, drinking with it, brushing your teeth. All right, so you just mentioned, this is a proposed rule. In other words, the VA finally stood up and said, there's so many Marines and other branches
And
that we're
other
trying to-
branches, yeah.
So again, like Glenn says, don't automatically disqualify yourself. If you were stationed at Camp Lejeune from 53 to 87 for more than a month, then this applies to you. They have proposed these rule changes, which is kind of the first step. It's not really the first step, but it's the first major step towards making it law. And they're gonna. This came out in September. They're going to be considering all this, put it out for comment and what have you. This is specific to recognizing 8 different diseases that they hope will become or be declared presumptive service-connected disabilities. What are those 8, Glenn?
Well, okay, those 8 are adult leukemia, aplastic anemia and other myelodysplastic syndromes, bladder cancer, and I've got a friend who has that, kidney cancer, liver cancer, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and Parkinson's disease. And let me tell you, it's 30 days or more, so you got to come up with some proof that shows you were at Camp Lejeune for 30 days or more. And also, as an aside, your family members, particularly your spouse, can get VA medical care reimbursement if they were with you for 30 days or more. Of course, they're not going to get service connected, but the VA will reimburse anything that they're paid for out of their own pocket for any one of these 8.
Right, a host of disabilities. They're all nasty. They're nasty. Very life-threatening, actually, so you have to get treatment for them. But the idea is there was such a high incidence of veterans and the family members, people stationed there.
Yeah.
So many people between 53 and 87 that were stationed at Camp Lejeune have come down with these things that the National Institutes of Health, which partners with the VA, said, we think there's a correlation here.
Yeah, it's a greater correlation between that and anybody that wasn't at Camp Lejeune. So
it's gotten to the point now, and this is serious, where they are entertaining, and hopefully it should be approved. I know it's going to be a big money thing. It's always about money. But they should approve this to where it's going to be another one of those presumptives. Give our listeners just a quick tour into what other presumptive service-connected disabilities are. What does that mean? How does that apply? Let's say a Vietnam vet.
Okay, a Vietnam vet, there's about 14 different disabilities that can be approved on a presumptive basis. You have to give them proof that you were set foot for at least, if you can prove it, an hour of one day in the Republic of Vietnam or other places like Thailand or the DMZ in Korea, but those are harder to prove if you didn't set foot in Vietnam to show that you were exposed to herbicides, commonly called Agent Orange.
So if you had boots on the ground in Vietnam and you have one of these lists of 15, from diabetes to Parkinson's to ischemic heart disease.
Exactly. Those are kind of the new ones.
Yeah, that's a huge range of disabilities. You're a Vietnam vet, had boots on the ground, and the doctor is telling you, here's meds, here's surgery, here's this and that, prostate cancer, a whole bunch of them.
Lung cancer.
You have potential disability compensation benefits from the VA. That's that whole presumptive thing. For the OIF, OEF vets, there is a presumptive service connection for exposure to environmental toxins.
Exactly.
And it follows the same rule.
Yeah.
If you were there and were provable and you come down with this stuff, you're going to get service connected.
Yeah, and again, some proof for that is the Global War on Terrorism medal or others that show that you were in Iraq or Afghanistan.
It can range from a skin disorder to a respiratory condition, even vision and hearing problems, all because of all the nastiness of the burn pits and so many other things. It's an environmental toxin presumptive service-connected disability. So that's what's happening with this Camp Lejeune thing. All you Marines particularly, but anybody that was stationed at Camp Lejeune from 53 to 87 for 30 days or more, if you were there for a month or more, you need to look into this, not just for you, but for your family as well.
Yeah, and probably 30 days or more is important to point out. 30 days, not a month, because some months have 31 days. but the rule says 30 days or more. So if it was in a 31-day month and you were there 30 days, that applies.
Exactly. So we talked about this, and we're going to reiterate. We got a little time here on the program. This is like the foundational business that we operate on, and that is this service-connected disability compensation. Glenn, there's a whole range of benefits available to veterans that honorably serve this country. But let's talk specifically about this. I guess you could parallel it with the workers' compensation. All right, it's like
that's similar.
Yeah, if you were working for GE on the outside and you were injured on the job, you're going to get workers' comp. It's an implied workers' comp program that the VA has. You're on active duty. They own you 24/7, 365 for the contract you've signed.
Yeah, and except a big difference is workers' comp is going to eventually run out on you, and service-connected disabilities are for life. And you can, if they get worse and it's service-connected, you can go in and ask that they review it, and with the hope of getting a higher rating.
The only disqualifier is, let's say you're in the Air Force and you're riding your motorcycle and you don't have your personal protective equipment, you don't have your helmet, your long boots or anything like this, and you get in an accident, whether it was somebody else's fault or your own, there's going to be a line of duty determination. They're going to find you at fault.
Yeah,
for not following general orders.
And if they find you at fault, you're not going to get service connection for that.
Yep, nothing there, not coming. So that's a very important point. However, if you're following all the rules, you're being a good soldier, sailor, airman, marine, coastie, then something happens to you. Let's give them an example. I'm the hurricane that happened a couple months ago. I'm up there repairing the roof. Maybe I'm putting on a new piece of fascia board, and I slip and fall off the ladder and I break my leg. Is that a potential? I'm on active duty, Glenn. Is that a potential for service-connected disability compensation?
You're on active duty?
I'm on active duty.
I would think that the line of duty would say that's on active duty.
If you've been tipping a few and you go out to paint the roof or the side, they're going to find that you were inebriated and that was willful misconduct.
Yep, exactly. So,
happens
there's sometimes
to you,
a fine line, but...
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the line of duty determination. Line of duty. Were you considered to have been on active duty, or was it willful misconduct?
Right. So something happens. Here's the foundation. There's a 3-pronged process to well-ground a service-connected disability claim for compensation, for money from the VA. Something happened to you while you were on active duty.
Yep.
Something is still that something is still bothering you today.
Yep.
And there's that nexus, that logical connection between the two. Sometimes that's through chronicity of symptomatology. In other words, if I've got a 5-year span from time I left service to now, but that knee that I had operated on while I was in the Air Force is getting worse, and it's still bothering me. And I've made some complaints to the doctors within those 5 years. Those complaints, that's that chronicity. That's right. Showing that it's an ongoing problem. I got a well-grounded claim, don't I, Glenn?
Absolutely. And you can also get the doctor, if they will, write you a statement saying your current problem is related back to what you had on active duty. And guess what really helps that happen? Get a copy of your service medical records.
This is very, very important. Everybody that leaves service, and I wish... it's 2016, 2017, whenever you're listening to this, because we sometimes rebroadcast these, especially these type of episodes where we give you some great general information. So whenever you're listening to this, the idea is things change, all right, but some things never do.
Yeah, exactly. And, getting a service-connected disability, again, is for life, and you can go back and ask them to review your disability claim if you think it's gotten worse or you have medical evidence that it's gotten worse, and see if they won't increase the rating. And there's a down to that a little bit, and if it hasn't gotten worse and it's actually gotten better, they can reduce it, unless you fall under a couple of rules they had that we're not going to go into today, but it's the 10-year rule and the 20-year rule. They can put it down. Otherwise, it has to be proved on their part that you submitted a fraudulent claim.
Right. So all things being equal, it is disturbing to me that all the branches of service are not providing our separating service members, whether they're like you, longevity retirees, Glenn, or like me. You should get a copy of your service medical records before you separate service.
Yeah, and if you didn't, write to the National Personnel Records Center and get a copy.
Actually, go to avetproject.org and
There
under the
you
VA
go.
Benefits tab, click on it. You're going to get sent to NPRC. Follow the prompts. Ask them for a complete copy of your SMRs. I guess they call them STRs now, Service Treatment Records.
Right.
And while you're at it, ask for a one-time free issue of all your awards, medals, citations, personnel file. You're going to get a packet of everything the DOD has on you.
Yeah, and it's important that you get that personnel record in addition to the medals earned and those kind of things, because I may not be able, when I'm reviewing your records, I may not be able to find anything in your medical records, but I may be able to find something in a performance report or something else that supports your claim.
You would be surprised what might be in there. Maybe you're a Vietnam vet, and you're having trouble with the VA to make them understand you had boots on the ground. My God, we know if we were boots on the ground, right?
Yeah.
But they want some sort of certifiable proof. Well, guess what? By getting that 201 file, your personnel file, or your awards, medal, citations, everything you can bring
All
together.
that.
Yeah, like Glenn said, you might be surprised. There might be something in there.
Yeah,
A little
exactly.
nugget that you can use.
Yeah, it may be in the write-up to a performance report.
Yep.
It may be in your job description
Yep.
to a performance report.
Important stuff. Every single veteran
Yeah, you
should
just have
this.
to know what the heck you're looking for that's needed by the VA to prove your claim. And let me throw in real quick, if you have a Vietnam service medal, that's not good enough. You've got
Not
to have
anymore.
proof.
Not anymore. They made it more difficult, which is nonsense, but
Yeah.
that's another matter for another day.
Yeah.
It's the ever-changing world of the VA.
The if and or but world of
Isn't
VA
that the
benefits.
truth? So let's just kind of recap this. If you are, whether you're getting ready to separate, and Glenn helps a lot of people, all right, if you're looking to file your claim, get an accredited representative like Glenn to help you navigate that process. If you're looking to separate, you need to file that claim. If you've already separated service and you have some lingering issues that you know began while you were on active duty, there's a very good chance that you're going to qualify for service-connected disability compensation through the VA. Can't stress it enough. Give me your email one more time, Glenn. Not to deluge you, but
Yeah. That's Glenn with two N's, GLENN at AVET Project, AVETPROJECT.org.
file for anything you can. If you don't file, if you leave it on the table, that money's going to go to some other program or agency and is not going to go where it's intended, which is to support those that have signed on to protect this entire nation. It's an amazing thing. Love you all. American Warrior Radio is committed to bringing you information that you can use and share with others. Glenn, as we start to wrap this up, let's take a minute and talk about this, because we can't ever end an episode without this.
Yep, if you're a veteran experiencing crisis or a friend or family member of a veteran experiencing crisis, you can get help. Call 1-800-270